the next step, which is order of operations. Again, a lot of kids learn a cheesy little saying when they first learn order of operations. So the saying that I learned was, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Let's write that on the side. Or people remember as PEMDAS. And I'm going to write it a special way. I'm going to put the D with the M and the A here with the S. So please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's where that little saying comes from. And the reason we do that is when we're doing our order of operations, in order for everybody in the whole world to get the same answer every time they do a problem, we have these rules here. We want to first simplify expressions inside grouping symbols. Those are your parentheses. That's where the P comes from, okay? So anything in parentheses we do first. Then the E is going to be your exponents. So anything with a power. So like this little 2, if there's a square, you're going to do your exponents first. Let me write parentheses here too. You don't remember to spell parentheses. I don't know if it's an E or an I. I think it's an E. That's why I teach math. Okay. And then do all multiplication and division from left to right. So notice the third step is multiplying and dividing. That's why I put the M and the D together right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to move from left to right. So division could come first if it's on the left, and then the multiplication's on the right. So we're always going from left to right, the same direction we read, whatever happens first, dividing or multiplying. And then the last step is kind of the same. You're going to do adding and subtracting in the same step from left to right. So that's why I put the A and the S here together. So if everybody follows these same rules in our order of operations, people all over the world are going to get the same answer. So again, here's kind of your little saying. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Parentheses, exponents. You can keep these together, multiply, divide, and then add, subtract. So let's practice a couple. This part will go a lot quicker than the fraction part. So what you're going to do is just go through your list. I'm going to look for parentheses. Okay, I don't have any parentheses. The next step is exponents. I don't have any exponents. So then I move down to multiply, divide. Remember, multiplying and dividing are the same step, but I only have one division. So we're going to do that step first. 3 divided by 2. Can't really do that. I don't know if, let's just do a decimal instead of a fraction. We get 1.5. And then we have the 5 plus the 1.5 plus the 2. Our next step would be adding or subtracting. We go from left to right. So starting at the left here, I would do 5 plus 1.5, which is 6.5. And then keep going left to right. 6.5 plus 2 is 8.5. And that would be my answer. So that one didn't have all of the parts in it. This one has more. So again, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We're going to do parentheses first. So whatever is inside the parentheses you do, no matter what's going on out here. So 3 times 6, that's going to be the first thing that I do since it's inside the parentheses. 3 times 6 is 18. And now we have a divide and a 3 squared still left over. So, and then once you multiply the parentheses, you don't really need them anymore, so you can drop them. So I'm just not going to write them. Our next step is not division. It is the, hey, sorry, I got cut off. So the next part we're going to do is the exponent before we do the division part. So 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. And then we have our 18 and our division still. So our next step would be the division, and we only have 1 here, so we don't really need to worry about order too much, but we just go left to right. So 18 divided by 9 is 2. Okay, so there's that one. Let's do another one here. We have -2 times 3 squared. Remember, if you have numbers next to each other like this in parentheses, it just means you're multiplying them. So we can put a little dot if you want. So if we go through our order, we do have parentheses, but in the parentheses it's just a 3. So there's nothing we can really do to that 3, except there is an exponent on it, which takes us to our next step, which is the exponent step. So we're going to do this part first. 3 squared, again, is 9. And then remember, this is really just a multiply. You don't really need the parentheses anymore. You can write them if you want to, but they're not necessary. So now we do our multiply step. Negative 2 times 9 is negative 18. And there would be your answer. Okay, here is a tricky one. Notice 19 and 20. They're both negative 3 squared, right? The only thing different is this one has parentheses. Those parentheses matter. If there's not parentheses on it like this one, they're saying this negative is not attached to the 3. So this is the same really as saying I have negative 1 times 3 squared. And it makes a difference because in this format, I would do my exponent first, which is 3 squared. I would get 9. And then I have negative 1 times 9, which is negative 9. I'm going to come down to this one. However, when the negative is inside the parentheses like this, they actually want you to square the negative. So remember, squaring something means to times it by itself. So this is saying to do negative 3 times negative 3. But when we times two negatives together, a negative times a negative is a positive. So we end up getting a positive 9 versus a negative 9. So be really careful with that. It's the same in your calculator. If I just type negative 3 squared into my calculator, I'm going to get negative 9. So if you actually are wanting to square a negative number in your calculator, make sure you're putting parentheses around it. That way the calculator knows to square the negative with the number. Otherwise it reads it like this and keeps the negative separate and brings it down with the answer. So just be careful with that. I see that mistake all the time. And then let's just do this last one. Again, order of operations, do parentheses first. We look at our parentheses, it's just a 6. So I don't have an actual problem inside the parentheses. So then I would go to exponents. I don't have any exponents. So then I would move to my multiply divide step. So this is a subtraction, so we're going to skip over it and go straight to our multiplying here. 3 times 6 is 18, and then bring down the 5 and the minus. So now would be our add and subtract step. 5 minus 18. Again, we have a positive, and this is a bigger number. So 5 subtract 18 goes into the negatives. We're going to get a negative 13, and that would be your answer. So there's just kind of a quick review on your order of operations. I know it can be a little bit tricky sometimes, but as long as you remember this little saying, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, you should be good. Parentheses, exponents, remember multiplying and dividing are the same step. You just go left to right. Addition and subtraction are the same step, but do left to right for your order. And should we do one tricky one first, actually, before we stop? No, I think we'll be good. If you guys want, you can pause it. This video is already getting really long, so let's just end for today. So go ahead and get started on your homework. As always, I am available to you guys. Go ahead and email me, and I will get back to you as quick as possible. If you want some one-on-one help, we can also set up a Zoom or Google Meet and do it virtually that way. So let me know if you guys have questions. I hope you have a great day. See ya.